Hello everyone and welcome to Chapter 1. This is the chapter on segmentation. Today we're going to learn the basics of the passage analysis pericope sets. We're going to look at segmentation in commentaries, and we're going to create a pristine text. So Logos has a number of ways to help us examine the segmentation of a text. There's a tool that helps us visualize the different pericopes that translators have used. There are ways to quickly see how commentators segment the text, and there are also ways to remove all the markers in order to look for the segmentation on our own. Today we will look at these three features. The quickest way to examine the boundaries of a text is found in the passage analysis tool. So to get to that tool, I'm going to click on Tools. Then under Passage, it's Passage Analysis. When this tool opens, you'll see it opens right away to the Compare Pericopes, but there's also Word Tree, Morph River, Cluster Graph, and Version River. Don't worry about those other ones for now. We're going to look at them in later videos. So the Compare Pericope tool, which is what we're looking at today, it has a number of colored columns, and at the top of each of these columns you can see, so we've got ESV, HCSB, LEB, just different translations. If you click on pericope sets, you can look at your other ones. You may not have all of these, you may have more depending on what version of Logos you have. But so each column and each color refers to a different translation. And so to start, we're just going to go to Genesis 1. So type that in up top, hit enter, and you'll see we have these colored lines with nothing. There's no information on here that would show us any difference. So all of the translations that we have access to pericope sets for, look at this is all pretty much the same. But then as we scroll down, you'll see at the end of Genesis 1, the ESV and the NASB see a break between Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, where the other translations see it happening between verses 3 and 4 or even later. So this break here is something that we look at, and it tells us these are different ways that translators have segmented the text. And when we use this, it's always good to ask, what difference would it make? For instance, what difference does it make that the ESV separates God resting on the seventh day from the other 6 days? Does it think that the seventh day is a separate unit of thought? In the same way, the NASB sees the seventh day and all of Genesis 2 as a separate thought from Genesis 1. What difference would it make if the day of rest was tied to the second account of creation rather than the first? These are questions that you might ask after looking at this. You might have other ones, but these are some base level observations you can see when you look at the text. So this is one way that you can look and see how it's been segmented and how the breaks are. Another way that we can do this is we can actually look at the segmentation in commentaries. So you have a number of commentaries in Logos, again depending on your passage, but for now we're going to look at a commentary that you all should have, which is the NAC, or the New American Commentary. So I'm going to close out of Passage Analysis, and I'm going to go to the command bar, which is this little text bar near the top center, and I'm going to type in Open NAC and then Genesis. Now a drop-down window appears, and one of the first things we notice is a possible segmentation that the NAC sees, in that Genesis 1 through 11:26 are one commentary, and Genesis 11:27 through 50:26 are another. So I'm going to click on Genesis 1 through 11:26, the NAC, and it will come up. Now at this point, I would like to have a little more space as I'm looking at the NAC. And so just quickly I want to show you, I'm going to close out of my Logos workbook, Fall 2015. And then I'm going to, there's two ways I can do this. I'd like for this to be, take up the whole Logos screen. I can find the edge here, and I can drag. I can click and hold and drag. Or if I click on the NAC commentary, this little tab at the top, and hold, I can drag it around, and I can make it just on the left, just on the right, or the whole screen. So I want it to be the whole screen for now. Now, mine is open up to here because this is the last thing I was looking at, but yours might be on the title page, it might be somewhere else. But on the locator tab, we want to go to the outline of Genesis 1:11 through 11:26. Now, if you don't have the locator tab to do this, that's this. You'll see these double arrows. Click on them. You also, if you don't see those double arrows, you want to go in here and make sure you have a check mark next to Show Locator Bar. So we're under the outline of Genesis 1:1 through 11:26. Now here we can see the NAC commentator has put things in a certain order. They see the creation of heaven and earth, Genesis 1:1 through 2:11 or 2:3, as one set or one segment or one unit of thought, and inside that they have smaller segmentations, but this is their big thought, and these are the things happening inside. And then they have 2:4 through 4:26 as their next main segment, with some little subsegments under that as well. So using this, you can actually use this in most commentaries that you have access to in Logos, or even paper commentaries. They're all going to have some type of outline or structure for the book they're doing. So this is another way to look at segmentation besides the passage analysis. And this one usually gives you a little bit deeper because you can see kind of how they classify things. But it's another way to see segmentation. And so the last thing we're going to look at, so let's say you've seen these two features and you want to just look at it on your own and see what you see if you just read through the text. There's a way to do that where we can get rid of all of the markers, and that's the pristine text. To make the pristine text, we're going to go back to Tools. You're going to click that a lot, and we're going to click on Copy Bible Verses. Now when you go, it'll be a smaller tab off on the right side usually, and underneath it you have a number of options. So let's say we want to read through Genesis 1 and 2. So I already had that in, but you'd type in Genesis 1 through 2. There is a limitation here. If I typed in Genesis 1 through 50, like I wanted to read the whole book without any markers, pardon me, Genesis 1 through 50, and hit enter, it's going to change it to Genesis 1 through 6. That's because that's the amount of text that Logos can handle at once here. And so if I wanted to get all 50 chapters of Genesis in a row, I'd have to do Genesis 1 through 6, copy and paste it out into a Word document, then add 7 through 11, and then keep doing that until I get all of the text in. So you can do it, it just takes a little more work if you're trying to do a whole book. But so for now, again, we're just going to look at Genesis 1 and 2. So I hit enter, it loads up, and now we want to make sure that we have copy Bible text only. So you can do fully formatted, one verse per line. There's all these different options, but we want Bible text only because that's the pristine. And so I click on that, and that's there. And then I'm just going to leave it as the ESV for today, but if you click here, you can use any translation you have, and that does include if you have Greek or Hebrew or any other language. There's a lot of options here that you can do. You can also choose if you want Microsoft Word or other things. I'm going to leave it Microsoft Word because that's what I have. And so we've got Genesis 1 and 2, Bible text only, and ESV. Now I need to just click on copy. And so you click on that. It doesn't do anything, but it copied it. So now I'm going to open a Word document. Again, if you have Pages or something else, as long as you have a text formatter, this should work. Logos works best with Word, but you don't have to have Word. I got Word last year. So now I click and make a blank document, and then I just go Edit, Paste. Now I have the text of Genesis 1 and 2 without any markers. Now there's a few things that we need to do at this point. So I'm going to do edit, select all. The first thing, just to make it easier to read, we always want to make it 1.5 spacing. Just gives us a little more room. And then we also want to add, under layout, we want to add line numbers and continuous. And so now it adds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes all the way down. The reason we do this, there's one too many there. The reason we do this is because even though we're trying to get rid of the segmentation that's in the text from the verses and chapters, this gives a way to reference something. So if you were reading it and you were like, man, I noticed something in line 12, you could still write that down, but these numbers are not, they're not intruding as you're reading through the text. They're just a quick marker on the side. Lastly, we want to make sure to have a title. So I'm going to click up here, and so it gives me a heading. You want to add a header, and always make sure to do the title with the translation. So I have chapters, oops, I'll close that. I have Genesis 1 and 2. I'm going to center it, and then I'm going to bold it. I'll make it a little bit bigger. So now I have that, and that way, if I'm ever reading through this on my own, and I find something, I know right where it came from. You know, I'm not reading it and thinking it's from somewhere else. It's just handy to have that. So that's the pristine text. You just got to save it, and I'll save it to my desktop. One and two. Hit save. So now I have that there for reading at my leisure. So with Logos, you can see where others have landed with the pericope sets under the passage analysis. You can also look at where commentators have set by looking at the structure, the outline that they've put in the text. And you can also examine the world within the text without any of those markers to see what you find there as well. So hopefully you'll be able to use these three as you study the Bible and just look deeper into the text.